Well, hello. And guess what? Not only am I going to continue with Revelation, picking up in chapter 12 today, but you are in for a treat. I mean, this is the jackpot, okay? It's going to be so good. All right. I thought, oh, it's good that I'm stopping at 12 because I have to look at something and get that out, that relates to that. And so I get out my notebook, and one thing leads to another. And I mean, it was like you open the closet and all the baggage just falls out right on you. If you've ever seen that in a movie, that's exactly how this was. It was just everything fell out of the closet. And I thought, okay, I can't talk about this and not talk about that. And I gotta talk about this and that and this and this and that. And that's how it went on all day yesterday evening. So anyway, it's all there and that's it. So the only part that I'll do later is the part about more of connecting it because, and I have to do it this way because, I mean, I have to go through the other parts of the Bible that I have left to do first before I can connect the puzzle pieces more. Okay, so it's just too much otherwise. And then I've gone over it and then I can connect that. So when it comes to prophecy and sequence and things like that, some things have to wait, okay, but some things I'll do today. And I mean, it's so good. I thought, oh boy, I have to put a copyright disclaimer on this thing. It's so good because somebody's going to want to grab all this and put it in a book and make money. So what can you do? I mean, I people might wonder why I don't write a book, honestly. And honestly, one time I thought of it and I looked into this. This was like 12 years ago, something like that. Over a decade ago, I looked into this. I mean, I have a lot of things I would write, so it was just something I thought, oh, I'm going to write, maybe I'll write a book about that. It was some topic about the Bible. And so I looked into it, and the whole thing had changed. The way they do that now, it's all different. It's like you have to pay for it yourself instead of them doing it, which it used to be that way. And then I had contacted a Christian publishing company and asked them. I forgot it was a while back, so I forgot how I put it all. But the answer they basically told me in the email, which I kept for a while, but it literally said, "What will sell now?" I mean, it's their scripted narrative, okay? If you're not going along with it, you're not going to get anywhere, is basically what it is. This person told me that it will sell if it goes along the lines of like books like Purpose Driven. Yeah, that's word for word. That guy's book, what they told me. And of course, mine was totally as far from that as can be. So I thought, well, there goes that idea. I mean, a Christian publishing company told me that. So, I mean, I thought, well, that's when that ship sailed, and I gave up that idea. So, when it comes to writing books, I mean, it's just like anything else in this world. How far are you really going to get, right? If you're really doing it the legitimate way, following Jesus, how far are you going to get in this world? You're not going to climb a ladder. And I'm not trying to climb any ladders either, but you can't do anything, hardly anything. I mean, how did these people become famous? And I don't want to be famous, but I'm just saying, how do they, right? Yeah, that's another avenue they take to get there. And of course, that's off limits. Totally out of the question. We'll die 1,000 deaths first. They could stab me with 1,000 knives first. Forget it. That's never going to happen. So, anyway, I'll just keep my 10 subscribers. Thank you very much, and I'm happy. But that's the book thing, okay? Just that's another thing that I ran into. There's so many things I could talk about that I've seen in my life. It's just unbelievable. Okay, little by little. So, all I ask, I'm going to put all this out here only because it will help someone. It's inspiring. Time is short. I don't know how short, but it's not very long. And if anybody really would use this, my attitude is, if I put out the truth and it gets shared, praise the Lord. I mean, I want the truth out there. I want it to get shared. I want this to spread everywhere if possible. Great, you know? Um, and if somebody makes money off of it and I don't, guess what? That if I never get monetized, I mean, that's how the thing goes. I mean, what can I do? I just feel the need to do this, so I'm going to do it. All I ask is whoever, if they really would do that and write a book, just cite your sources like I do, okay? Just cite the channel here that you got it from. That's it. That's all I'm asking. So the word gets out. Maybe it'll grow then. I don't know. That's all I can say. So, okay, that little speech is over. So now you're going to jump in. Revelation 12. And I'm going to be jumping all over. So just be ready for that, okay? All right, verse 1. Now a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a garland of 12 stars. Then, being with child, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great fiery red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 diadems on his heads. His tail drew a third of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth, to devour her child as soon as it was born. She bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up to God and his throne. Then the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared by God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. Okay, so people wonder, question number 1, who is this woman, this and that, who's this, what's that? Well, okay. So, and there have been a lot of false speculations. This is another thing where the Bible interprets itself, and we're going to go right there after this. But, some people have said it's Mary. Some people have said it's the church. I mean, just so many things. Okay, first of all, just looking at this, okay, she gives birth to a male child who is to rule all nations, and he's caught up to heaven and to the throne of God. I mean, who else could that be? That has to be Jesus, right? There is nobody else who that child is. So, I mean, that's probably why they try to say it's Mary, but here, let me just go to that spot, okay? So I'll leave this here, and we're going to go all the way back. Actually, there are 2 spots here. I'm going to go to the first one first. Okay, here. This is quick. The other one isn't, well, you'll see. Okay, so it's Genesis 3, verse 15. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. he shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Okay, so I know this is actually speaking to Eve, but this is like the lineage, okay, where the Messiah comes through. All right, so technically that's that woman, okay, and between your seed and her seed. Okay, well, her seed will be the Messiah. So that's Jesus. Okay, mystery solved, right? Okay, then I'll get back to the other part. But he shall bruise your head. Jesus bruises, crushes, the devil. And here he's speaking to the devil, and you shall bruise his heel. Well, we saw how that went. So, okay, now he's speaking to the serpent. So, and then here it says between your seed and her seed. So one might wonder, well, who is that seed, right? Well, I mean, this is strange in a way because there's humanity, that's all we know, but there are those bloodlines, right? Certain bloodlines that are in certain places, like I've heard there are 13 of these, and they're in different parts of the world, and it isn't one specific race, okay? It's just different groups with power and all kinds of things I've heard. So, okay, those societies, all that stuff. So that's what I would think first. It doesn't say any more than that. So, anyway, for what it's worth, there's that. Now, the next spot is that tells us even really something. It's still in Genesis, and it is chapter 37. Okay, now this is where, way back with Joseph, okay, and I mean, I'll get to this when I get to it. I read a little bit of it in another video, but this background here is, Jacob has the 12. Okay, so Jacob was married to Rachel and Leah. So he has these two wives, and from these two wives, he has the 12 sons. And Joseph is one of the sons, and these become the 12 tribes, like they spring off from these 12 sons. So those 12 tribes we read about with the 144,000, those 12, okay? So, and Joseph is one of these sons, okay? And now by this time, Rachel has already passed away, and there's only Leah who's left alive, and as far as I remember. Anyway, okay. So, because he speaks of his one wife, which Leah is the one who lives longer. Rachel dies in childbirth with Benjamin. So, anyway, so there's Jacob and Leah, the wife, and the 12 sons. Okay, so Joseph has this dream. He has two dreams, and this is where they give him the nickname the Dreamer, his brothers, and they become jealous, and that's how he ends up getting sold into slavery to Egypt. So that's the long story there. But here, he tells his dreams to everybody, So, okay, now here, this is the first dream. Okay. And it's a similar dream. They both have the same kind of a meaning, and it actually comes to pass. Okay, the first one, he has a dream about, it's these sheaves and everything, which you just have to read this part and see. Okay, but it's basically, your sheaves stood all around and bowed down to my sheaf. And his brothers said to him, shall you indeed reign over us, or shall you indeed have dominion over us? So they hated him, even more for his dreams and for his words. Then he dreamed still another dream and told it to his brothers and said, "Look, I have dreamed another dream, and this time the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars bowed down to me." So he told it to his father and his brothers. And his father rebuked him and said to him, "What is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall your mother and I and your brothers indeed come to bow down to the earth before you?" And his brothers envied him, but his father kept the matter in mind. Okay? All right. And then that part ends. So that's the dream. And what's interesting is in their lives, this comes to pass, because when he's in Egypt, Joseph, he becomes a ruler, and they do come and bow down to him. Okay, so it comes to pass. And again, I read that earlier. I'll read it again later. Long story short, this comes to pass. So, all right. But this is the interpretation, okay? The sun is Jacob, the moon is Leah, so father and mother. The 12 tribes would be the 12 stars. And I know it says 11, and Joseph is one of them, so they're bowing to him. It's, close enough. But that is the interpretation of this. And then one would say, okay, great. Well, what does that tell us? Who this woman is? The woman is Israel, okay, because this is Israel. Jacob, his other name is Israel. Okay, the 12 tribes of Israel come from him. I mean, it represents Israel. That's what that represents. This woman is Israel. That's the woman in Genesis 3:15 who, that's being referred to. It just goes down the line. That's the woman, being Israel, that gives birth to the Messiah. Okay, the Messiah had to come to the nation of Israel. That's what all the prophecy said. And I mean, ultimately, you have Mary as the actual mother, yes, so in that sense, it would fit, but ultimately, it's all of Israel. So, you have the 12 tribes, you have the sun and the moon, the 12 stars being Jacob, or AKA Israel, right, his wife, and the 12 sons, which are turning into the 12 tribes of Israel. I mean, that's the interpretation. Okay, so it's that whole group. That's it. Okay, love it, hate it, whatever. That's what that is. Okay, so anyway, because there are people that will try to tell you it's something else, or they're the woman. The things I see now, it's so crazy. But anyway, so that is who this woman is, okay? And then it's interesting when you make all these connections, because obviously the child is the Messiah, Jesus, but at the same time, we are part of the body of Christ. We will also reign with him. So there's an extension of the child that would apply to the church. In that sense, Israel, gave birth to the church. There's that saying, Judaism is the root, Christianity is the fruit, like it gave birth that way. So the branch is Jesus, or the trunk of the tree. That's one of his titles, the branch. Okay, so I know all the connections, but so long story short, that's who the woman is. Okay, mystery solved. People can believe it or not, but that's what it is. Okay, and like the 144,000 and everything, later will bow to the Messiah as well. And that comes up when they're alive, which is the end times, which is now. So that will be fulfilled in the not too distant future. So these pictures, they just extend throughout time. It's just so interesting. Okay, so that's decoded. All right. Okay. And here, this part, the fiery dragon, well, take a wild guess who that is. I mean, it's symbolic. Okay, that's the devil. The fiery red dragon is the devil. And then the 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 diadems, which are actually crowns on his heads. Okay, so, you know, they try to interpret this in every which way. I just take more of a wait and see approach here. Okay, 4. His tail drew a third of the stars of heaven and threw them down to the earth, or threw them to the earth. This represents like the third of the angels that fell. Okay, a third of the angels fell with him. So I mentioned this before, there were 3 main angels and the 3 archangels, and then the ranks below. And so the devil, who wasn't the devil at the time, okay, he fell, became the devil, and took a third of them with him, which became the fallen angels. That third fell, which are demons now, but that's what that represents, the stars of heaven that, fell in that case. Okay, then, and the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth, to devour her child as soon as it was born. Well, that's the enmity that's between the dragon or the serpent and the woman and the seed of the woman. I mean, this has been going on the whole time. The whole time, when you read the Old Testament, the devil has tried to corrupt the seed, to destroy the woman. Okay, that's what's been happening ever since the beginning, and you'll see as we go through the Old Testament. But anyway, it still goes on for another reason right now, even though that part is done. The Messiah thing is done. Nobody can try to mess with anything with, that's done deal. But there's something in the future, so the devil still tries to mess with the woman for that reason. Okay, that comes up later. So, but this has been ongoing, and even up to the time, when Jesus was born, and then after that, there was the time when Herod heard that, a king was born, that King Herod, and he ordered that all the babies that were up there around that area of Bethlehem, that they would be killed 2 years old and under. And the timing for that is, there's a reason for that, one thing at a time. But he ordered that because he felt threatened that another king is rising, and oh no. Well, that was the devil attempting to, kill the Messiah. I mean, it works through these rulers a lot of the time. So, like Caesars, that kind of thing. All the persecutions came through Caesars. I mean, it was unbelievable. Anyway, so that was one of those efforts, okay, and all along it's been going on. So that's what goes on there. And now the battle is with us, the church, okay, the Christians. The devil goes after the church. So anyway, that's the story with that. And she bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up to God and his throne. Okay, check mark. All right. Then the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared by God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. Now, this jumps right to the end times, okay? This is done. There's a church age, and then this jumps right to the end times. So, this period of time is also describing 3.5 years. It's the last 3.5 years, the last half of the tribulation period. So half of 7 years is 3.5 years. That's what this time period is. And that's what's going to happen during that time. And this is all about the 144,000. Okay. So, anyway, um, there's like a place that's prepared by God in the wilderness, and that's it. So, that's another story, but that's the deal there. And another thing, a lot of people get tripped up over the fact that this thing comes up with, I call it the gap of time. It's almost like a wrinkle in time, or it happens in many places in the Bible. I just label it a gap theory or a gap. And it happens in Matthew 24, it happens in Daniel 9, it happens in many places, like different places where it could be Jesus or just God talking about a certain thing. It's just like this is talked about, and then this is talked about. And in the middle, there's the church age. There's like 2,000 years or something like that in the middle, and it's a silent thing, and it just jumps to this. It's almost like it's this secret thing in the middle that's hidden, okay? And when we get to those places, I'll explain it more, but this comes up a lot. And people get really tripped up by that. Like, oh, I thought it was this generation and that generation. If you've ever heard that, you know what I mean. And it's like, that's what's happening. And they get all confused and they get into preterism and all this other stuff. And it's like, no, it's just that mystery of the church age in between. That's all it is. Okay, like, people calm down. so so that's it. And sometimes there's this thing called dual prophecy, which means double prophecy. Like, it applies several times. It's like an echo throughout history, and it repeats. And that has happened, and we'll see that when we go through the Old Testament too, but it's in the New Testament too. So, okay, it can refer to more than one thing at once, like 70 AD and the end times. Same thing is going to happen with destruction in that area. I mean, it refers to both, and I have no problem with that. Some people can't wrap their heads around it. Okay, well, nothing I can do. But all right, so this is that part. Okay, so that's about the woman and that whole thing. Okay, next is verse 7. And war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought, but they did not prevail, nor was a place found for them in heaven any longer. Okay, so the three angels, archangels, we have Michael, Gabriel, and Lucifer, who is the devil now. Okay, those are the three, and that one fell and became the devil. So, all right, Michael is fighting with the devil. The devil gets kicked out and gets, thrown out of heaven. So that's that. Okay, and when you hear these people who literally worship the devil, the things they think are ridiculous, that they think they're going to accomplish, and it's like they are as wrong as can be. I mean, they are so wrong, they give wrong a new definition in the dictionary. It's just wronger than it ever was before. So, yeah, that's it. I mean, this is what happens, okay? The devil gets kicked out. That's it. He loses. He doesn't win. He's been defeated, okay? He's not going to be in heaven anywhere. He's kicked out. Literally, like, he can't even go there anymore. Like, he roams the earth. But in Job, we see that, they'll present themselves for something in heaven. Well, from this time on, he's not even allowed up there anymore. Then later, they all go to the lake of fire. Okay, and then you get the stuff with the millennium. So there's an order to that sequence. That's another video, but just saying, like, that that deal is over, okay? So anybody following him, that's where they'll go, you know, down there. So I don't know how they can think anything else is going to happen. But anyway, okay. I mean, there's some people you just wonder about them. Okay, verse 9. So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Well, there it is. That's what I just said. They're deceived, but you're like, how can they be that dumb? Okay. So 10. Then I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ have come. Now, okay, that time, all right. For the accuser of our brethren, who accused them before our God day and night, has been cast down. And here, this is good, but okay, so he's accusing the church, okay? He's accusing us constantly, and then it's like that day is over here. That's no more of that. Okay. And then comes the judgment time later anyway. So anyway, that goes together too. So yeah. Okay. And 11. So and they, the brethren, okay, and they overcame him, the devil, by the blood of the Lamb, Jesus, and by the word of their testimony, okay, our testimony of salvation, and they did not love their lives to the death. I'm going to move this. Yeah, I'll read that again. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they did not love their lives to the death. This means they weren't trying to hold on to their lives like they were ready to die as martyrs. Okay, that's what that means. So, how do you overcome the devil? There it is, these three things. What do you need? 1, the blood of the Lamb. If you're not covered by the blood, you're exposed. Okay, it's a lost cause. You need that. Then, the word of their testimony. Do you have a testimony? If you're saved, you have a testimony. All right, and it involves the gospel. Okay, so that and this. That's 2. 3, they did not love their lives to the death. Okay, you're ready to die for Jesus anytime. Okay, that's what that means. You're not going to deny him to save and hold on to your life. You're ready to die for him and, confess him unto death. That's what that means. So that's it. 1, 2, 3, those 3 things you need. And all the time. Okay. Now, there was a song out not too long ago. It was real popular, also like 10 years ago. And, I'm not one of these people that's that picky. Like, as long as the lyrics are fine, I'm good with it. Some people fall in different places on a spectrum on that, and it's not, for me, it's not an issue to divide over, okay? But there was a song out about 10 years ago or more that had this part in the song, and I liked the song in general. It was okay. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that was not quite, real perfect or something, but they had this in there and they left out the number 3, the last part. And I thought, why did they leave that out? That's just as necessary as the other 2 things, So that's the part that's not popular in modern Christianity. That's why they leave that out. They left it out, okay? It's sad. It's just sad. I mean, it's going to deceive so many people. Okay. So just remember this. Revelation 12, verse 11. Okay, remember this one. Okay, 12. Therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. All right. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you, having great wrath, because he knows that he has a short time. Okay, so this is the time, once this happens and the devil is just cast down, literally, that all hell is going to break loose on earth. Okay, and he knows he has a short time, so he's going to try to do all the damage he can. So that's the time of that. It doesn't say, see, when you read through this, it doesn't say, oh, this happens. Sometimes it doesn't say anything like this is in the middle of the tribulation, or this is at the beginning, or at, some point. It doesn't say. So some parts are kind of vague, and some parts you can figure out by piecing together the puzzle pieces. So, okay, just you'll see as I go along. Okay, now, verse 13. Oh, excuse me. Now, when the dragon saw that he had been cast to the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. Okay, so who was the woman, remember? That was Israel. Okay, so at that point, the devil does persecute Israel. Now, it could be however you want to define that, but it's that group that is actually the woman, okay, that gets persecuted. It could be just a remnant, it could be just the 144,000, it could be them and a remnant, it could be a whole lot of people in this group. Okay, it doesn't say, but that's what the interpretation is. There's something going on there, and there's a spiritual reason behind it. Okay, so there's something else he's fighting now, and it's, something else. Okay. 14. But the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness to her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the presence of the serpent. Okay, now we just read that back there. This is referring to the same thing. She'll have a place prepared for her, and that's that wilderness place. And she's nourished there for that time. She's away from the devil. Okay, and this time, times and half a time, that's 3.5 years. Okay, time, and I read this somewhere. I don't remember where, I forgot, but time is a year, times is 2 years, and half a time is half a year. Add it all up, you get 3.5 years from the presence of the serpent. So she basically is in hiding during this time. Okay, so that's the 144,000. It's not, and it might be more, I don't know, but or at least that amount will have a place prepared for and be preserved and provided for, protected, nourished, all of that. Okay, and I have my theories on this, a lot of them, and I'm not going to get into details at this point, but anyway, to keep the long story short, that's what this is about. Okay, so again, nobody's going to be out evangelizing. Let's just get that straight right now. Okay, and again, I'm not going to go over every detail. You just have to follow the videos for this, and if something doesn't make sense, just watch an earlier video where I cover that. Okay, 15. So the serpent spewed water out of his mouth like a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away by the flood. Okay, so this could be some kind of manufactured flood, by, it could be a lot of things with water happening. I can picture all kinds of things by what I know in that area as well. It's very interesting geography, but again, I don't want to get on a rabbit trail, but I'm thinking something like that is going on, and that's what that's about. The devil behind it, of course. Okay, 16. But the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the flood which the devil had spewed out of his mouth. So this could be like one of those earthquakes where the just land splits open and the water rushes in and just gets consumed there. This could be. There, it's okay. It's interesting. Like the geography in Israel is a lot like the geography in California, Southern California. I know a lot about geography too. Okay, and there is they have the Salton Sea in Southern California. They have the Dead Sea in Israel. They have a fault line that runs through, the Salton Sea, and that inland part of California. San Andreas Fault goes all the way up into the ocean. And then they have Baja California, and then they have the Sea of Cortez, and it's just a large waterway, a sea, but the land actually separated. That's how that formed. And the area in the desert, like Palm Springs and all that around Salton Sea, is below sea level. And if the San Andreas Fault goes off, okay, really bad, that whole thing could crack wide open, and the water from the sea would come rushing in and fill that pool that's empty right now because it's below sea level, and go rushing up further. And who knows if, how far this would split open. I don't know, but who knows. But there's so many things that can go wrong, right? Possibly. So it's like, I don't want to live there. It's that kind of thing that can happen. And the geography over there is very similar to that. I think it's below sea level also. There is a waterway down there if you go down by, Saudi Arabia and Egypt, and there's that waterway. And I'm thinking, I heard there's a fault line too. It goes right through. And there was a river on both of these, okay, in Israel, that Jordan River. And then there's a river that used to go, it came out right there. And then there was an earthquake and it moved. That Colorado River, that's what created the landscape that way. So, and it moved because of an earthquake. So, anyway, the land was formed that way. It's all very similar. So if that cracks open, I could see this happening. So the water would, be swallowed up, and that's it. So, but the bottom line is God protects what he wants to protect. So they'll be all right. Okay. So, swallowed up. Okay. Okay. 17. And so it's not the dragon. You're not going to literally see a dragon, okay, like spitting out water, like all kinds of water gushing out of his mouth. It's all symbolic, okay? So it's this way for a reason. Okay, so 17. And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to make war with the rest of her offspring. Well, guess who that is? The Christians. That's what I was saying earlier, the offspring, Okay, who keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. Well, any doubt should be removed now, okay? Testimony of Jesus Christ, that can only be Christians. And this commandments part isn't like, oh, you have to keep the Sabbath. Oh my gosh, don't get me started on that again. This is like what we're supposed to do. New covenant, not old covenant, okay? All right, I don't want to spend a year on that again, but that's what that's about. So that's who the group is. And I know there's a lot of, they try to write this all off as tribulation saints, like it's a different group. It's not. It's not a different group. It's the Christians. And we'll see that as we go along. Okay, now, okay, let me make sure I didn't leave anything off of these notes because there's a lot. Most of it I didn't even get to yet. Okay. Okay, now 13. What are we on time? Okay, new video. That was just 12. So now I'm going to do 13 as a separate video. This is going to be another long haul, okay? Okay, I'll be right back.